guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Daisy. So for the month of December before the holidays, I like to do some things a little bit different. Instead of reading my subscribers spooky stories, I like to share their heartfelt, heartwarming paranormal encounters. So grab your snacks, grab your cobija, and let's get straight into it. Hello Daisy. My great-grandmother on my mother's side is who I called Mima. She and I had a special bond over horses. Her and I were the only major horse lovers in our entire family, so every time I'd go visit her, we'd always talk about horses. I volunteer at a place where kids with disabilities can come to ride therapy horses for free. I've been volunteering there for over 2 years now, and she loved hearing about it. She would always tell me how proud she was of me and how she hoped that someday I'd get a horse of my own. She'd always tell me about stories of her old mare, Babe, and what she was like. We had one of those connections. In May of 2022, she was sadly diagnosed with cancer, which broke me. I remember being in class and us reading Wonder, and getting to the part where Via is handling the grief and loss of losing her grandmother. I started crying in the middle of class. She had battled cancer up until May 28th, 2023. I remember me and my Aunt Lindsay made plans that I'd stay the night at her house. On the way into town, she asked if it was okay if we stopped by the hospital to visit Mima. I, of course, said yes, and we made our way to go see her. Once she parked, my aunt told me, "You don't have to come inside if you don't want to. I completely understand if it's too much to handle. You're welcome inside, but no one's forcing you. You don't have to if you're not comfortable." I honestly felt like I'd regret it if I didn't, so I agreed to go inside. Once we were inside, I saw my great-grandmother laying in the hospital bed, asleep. I was a bit startled by how different she looked, but I was happy to see her nonetheless. My grandpa, his brother, and his brother's wife were all there, sitting by Mima, talking about whatever. I had a good time visiting them, and when it was time to go, we said our goodbyes and made our way to my Aunt Lindsay's house. That night, I was staying in my cousin's room. She wasn't there, so I was by myself. I was sitting in bed, feeling pretty upset by the thought of seeing my great-grandmother in such pain. Then my best friend texted me. He was just checking in to see how I was doing. He listened to everything I said and let me know that he was there for me when I needed it. I thanked him and decided to go to bed. It was 10 p.m. That night, I had a dream. I dreamt that I was at the place I volunteer at, and by the stalls, I found 2 dead rattlesnakes curled up around each other in an embrace. It was a short yet vivid dream. I usually don't remember my dreams, but I could remember every detail as if I had been there just 5 minutes ago. Not long after I woke up, my aunt came to me and told me Mima had passed away last night at 10 p.m. I immediately wanted to cry. I went upstairs and I didn't know why, but my dream kept lingering over my head. Before I knew it, I had Googled what the dream meant, and it said, "Something in your life will end soon. Maybe you will lose someone close to you or face an unfortunate event." I immediately put the pieces together. What are the chances that I'd fall asleep around the same time she passed, dreamt about being at the place I'd tell her about, surrounded by animals we both loved so deeply, see a symbol of something that just so happens to describe the current event, and being able to recall every detail? This isn't the first time I had a dream like this, but this one is the most meaningful to me. According to my great-grandmother's best friend, she had seen something that night too. She had been in her house late at night when she saw Mima standing in the middle of her living room. That's when she knew she had passed, and she truly believes that was her final farewell. I like to believe my great-grandmother is watching over me and keeping me safe. Shortly after her passing, I got a horse of my own, which I knew she would love to see and hear about. But I have a feeling she knows. I know she's looking down from heaven, and I hope I've made her proud. I will truly miss her, but I know she's not gone. I truly believe she gave me that dream as a sign that although she may be gone, she's still here, and that gives me closure. I'll always love her, and I know she will too. Hey Daisy, recently my grandmother shared this story with me, and today I'm going to share it with you all. The story is of a girl who used to live in the same village where my grandma used to live when she was young. She, who was also young at the time, used to often tell her parents that it wasn't her actual home, but of course they would ignore her. One day, her father gave her sweets to eat, but she refused, saying that her actual father used to give her much better sweets to eat because he was a confectioner, and also told him that she was a boy in her past life. Her father found her funny and asked her if she was a boy, then how come she's a girl now? That's when the little girl proceeded to tell him about her past life story. She narrated that she was a boy and that one day her parents were leaving her home alone to attend a wedding by themselves. She wanted to go with them, but they kept refusing. She was standing on the road outside their home telling her parents not to go when a vehicle came and hit her, and later she died. Her father laughed it off, thinking that she was just making up this story. But one day, they were standing on the side of the road when that girl pointed her finger towards a house and told her dad that it was her home. And that sweet shop along with that house is owned by her dad. Needless to say, her dad did get shocked, but brushed it off, thinking it was just her imagination. The days passed, and she kept telling them about her previous life. Her dad got curious and decided to take her there again. They reached the house. He said to the little girl, "If you're so sure about that being your home, then why don't you go there?" Without any hesitation, she went inside the gate and found an old woman sitting there on a cot. She immediately hugged her, and of course, the woman, in shock, asked her, "Who are you?" She said, "Ma, you don't remember me? I am your son." The old woman thought that this little girl was just confusing her for someone else. That's when the little girl began to describe her past life. She even told her how she died and about her dad being a confectioner. By this time, her dad was already there, and he told the woman that her daughter kept telling them about their family and her previous life. The woman, in shock, took them to the shop. An old man was sitting there. As soon as the little girl saw the man, she hugged him and said, "Papa, you remember me, right?" The old man questioned her the same thing that the old woman did. "Who are you?" And again, the little girl proceeded to tell the man everything. Her mother began to cry. They confirmed that they had a son who died in the same way that the girl described. The woman asked her father if she could adopt her daughter, but of course he refused. But the story doesn't end there. One day, they had a fair in their village, and her father decided to take her. But she refused and asked him to go to a different place instead. And when his father asked her the reason, she said that one of her uncles is coming to that place and he will give her money. She also specified how much money he was going to give her. And keep in mind, we are talking about the time when there was no telephones. She kept insisting her father to take her there, so he agreed. And when they arrived, they actually found her uncle. Her father kept quiet, but he was definitely in shock. And to his surprise, he gave her the exact amount of money that she had said. All of this happened when she was young, and as she got older, she stopped saying such things and eventually forgot about her previous life as well. Now she's married and a mother of 2, and she doesn't remember anything. Hey Daisy, so this started in 2021 when my friend and I moved in together. We decided on a decent apartment that was built in 1976, right before a big earthquake in 1977. The place was renovated and we didn't have any issues until one day, out of nowhere, I started to smell a really sweet scent, like someone was preparing a dessert in the kitchen. It smelled like donuts. So I asked my friend, Maya, if she could smell it too. She said, yeah, I thought you were in the kitchen, but maybe it's the neighbors. So I ignored it. But then things took a weird turn. Candles were being lit when we got home from classes. Then we started to see that objects were being moved around the house. But the weird thing is, it wasn't that bad at all. Clothes were folded and placed on the beds. The apartment was clean, as if someone did it right before we entered the house. We started to find candy all around the rooms. It was like we had a mom or a grandma that was taking care of us. Maya once had some problems with her back. That night, she thought I came into her room and gave her a massage, but I was sound asleep. So what I can say is that I am thankful for whoever took care of us that year. When we left, I left a note with a few sweet words, thinking maybe they will see it. That next week, the owner called Maya and asked why we left a note saying, I will miss my girls. I of course lied and pretended that we knew nothing of it. Good afternoon, Daisy. My name is Jocelyn. This is a story about my deceased grandpa. My mother has never failed to mention the abuse she suffered as a child. Since she was born, my grandpa never liked her. The main reason for his hatred was because she was darker than her other 10 siblings. When she was 2, my grandpa couldn't stand seeing her, so he grabbed her from her crib and threw her out the window where she landed on a cactus. When she turned 8, my grandpa sent her off to the city to work for a rich family and didn't allow her to come back until she turned 13. The abuse didn't stop until she left for the US. My grandpa wasn't a good person, so when I got the chance to meet him in 2016, I didn't expect for us to form a bond or any connection. I spoke to him once that entire night before he stormed off drunk. After that night, I never saw him again. He never got the chance to say goodbye. Fast forward a few months later, when we heard he had died from a cold, that he would have survived if they had taken him to the doctor. After the prayer meetings and family reunion, my mom hung up his picture in the living room. Well, one day, when we weren't home, we came back to glass shattered all over the living room floor, his frame on the floor. My mom believed he hated her so much that he took it to the grave and wouldn't allow her to hang on to the only thing she had of him. So she put the frame in the closet where it hasn't been taken out since then. One night, I dreamt of him in a place covered in white. He wore a white suit and he looked healthier than when I met him. I couldn't speak, and it's like he knew he had a limited amount of time to talk to me. He knelt down and said, Mija, perdóname por todo el daño que te ha hecho. Le dices a tu mamá que la quiero y que me perdone por todo lo que hice cuando era niña. Once he finished speaking, he got up and walked away with a man who was waiting on the side. I couldn't make out the face of this person since he shined brightly, but once they disappeared, I woke up crying. I ran to my mom and told her I saw her father, and it felt so real. I told her everything he told me about his plea for her forgiveness so he could finally find peace. Her eyes filled with tears as I described the dream to her. So that was it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed these stories as much as I did. It was stories like these that helped me with my grieving process after my grandfather passed away, my Pa Fidel. And these stories gave me peace, hope, solace. So if you're going through something similar, I hope you feel the same way hearing these stories. But I know that the holidays can be tough. So if you're lucky to be with your loved ones, whoever that may be, just cherish the moment. Cherish the moment, cherish the holidays you have, the time that you have during these holidays. May you have fun. May you guys have an amazing new year. Hopefully it's a good year for the whole world, because God knows we need it. But if you want to hear more heartwarming stories, I will leave the videos up here so you guys can go check them out. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys all in the next year. Bye guys.